There's one memory technique I don't use, and I'm not sure why, but it's the peg system. Now, if you don't know what the peg system is, it's when you take something like your number system, alphabet system, and use each part of it as a peg. So for this example, I would have 1 through 50 as pegs. So 1 would be my first peg, and I would attach compression to 1. Second, 2 would be tissue. I would attach to it, and so on. And so when I recall the information, all I'm doing is looking at the peg. What was connected to this specific peg? 1, oh yeah, I saw the sun and it was getting compressed. Oh yeah, compression. 2, shoe, I saw the shoe and it was crying tissues. Oh yeah, so number 2 is tissues. And so that's how you use the peg system. You're just kind of connecting all the information to these pegs, and all you have to do is to think of that specific peg to recall that specific piece of information attached to it. And so this is useful for something like the presidents, Who is the 37th president? All you have to do is go to your peg of 37 and see what you connected to it. Now, for me, I don't use it. Even when I memorize words, I use a memory palace. So for me, instead of using the peg system, I really use the memory palace as the way to kind of organize everything and to jump location, because the palace naturally has these different numbers associated with it, right? So if I create a 50 location palace, guess what? Each location represents one of these different words, right? And so it's kind of like a peg system, but it's like built into a memory palace. And so for me, I don't think I've ever used a peg system besides, doing like an example or something, or just like messing around with memory techniques, but never used it to learn something, because it seems like the memory palace has both jobs. You have a location, but you also have the peg with it. And so I don't know why I don't use it, or if there's like a better way to like use memory techniques that I'm not aware of that involves using the peg system. But I would love to hear if you ever use the peg system where you're learning something. Now, I do kind of use it a little bit. So say if I were to memorize, all 50 words and each word went into its own location, I would put, I guess, a peg, or more of a like a signal kind of peg for 5, 10, 15, 25, 20. I would do specific increments, because I would be able to jump to number 5 and then be able to quickly find out what's number 3 or what's number 7 just from knowing the 5th word. So that's what I would do. It's kind of a peg system, a little bit, but it's not like a full-fledged, like, okay, let me just memorize everything by connecting it to all my different numbers. Because to me, it just really doesn't make sense, because if I'm connecting something, there's a better way to do it instead of just having a peg system, because it feels like, you're missing a location, which is really important, because if you're just connecting, like number 1 right here is compression, and so if I'm just connecting compression to sun, yes, it's really easy when I'm just doing like one example or something. But if I'm doing like 50 or more, and I don't have that background, that setting, that location where all of it's going on, it's really easy to kind of forget everything. Because say, for example, you forget your peg, whatever it is, you're kind of screwed at that point, because the peg was the only thing keeping all of these things in check. And so for 23, relevant. You lose your peg, you lose relevant. That piece of information is completely gone, right? In a memory palace, yeah, if you forget like a location, which is depending on how well your locations are built, if you forget a location, that's a big problem. But usually you could go to your location, you're like, wait, what was in here? You could kind of close your eyes, trying to replay some things, and you're able to kind of reconstruct what was there. So initially you saw nothing, but after doing some things, you're able to recapture the story and images in a location, because the physical location, is still there in your mind. It didn't disappear. It's kind of hard for it to just go missing. But your peg system, depending on what you're pegging with, you could actually forget that, and then you lose information completely, and there's really no way to kind of find that peg depending on what the information is. Of course, with a number system, it's going to be obvious. You can't really forget 23 comes after 22 or before 24. And so I just think, because there's like so many kind of unknowns, so many like little problems that could happen using the peg system. Maybe that's why I don't use it. But if you do use it, let me know how you use it. If you like using it, or maybe you didn't even know what peg system was until this video, So mess around with it and get back to me on, hey, no, this is how I found it to be useful to use the peg system. So hopefully you enjoy this video, and I'll see you next time.